we are so fortunate to be joined this evening by Sonia Cappellazzo. Cappellazzo, my favourite name. An artisan of modern couture, a visionary behind Cappellazzo Bridal, a couture house which has been changing the lives of brides for 3 decades. And she is the reason we are all here this evening. Sonia's here to talk about the art of dressing women with authenticity and grace, but I don't need to tell you this, because let's hear it from herself. May I get a warm welcome to Sonia Cappellazzo?
Oh, goodness. Thank you. This is overwhelmingly special. So I want to say thank you first to Claire and her beautiful team, because you're exceptional, you know, so thank you for and I get emotional. I cry so quickly, so I better keep it together. But I actually lost the question. What was it?
Do you know, I haven't even asked you a question yet, Sonia, darling.
Right, sorry, thank you. I've just gone off. See, I'm a nervous talker, so I'll tell everyone there in advance. Okay, so tell me to be
It's a
quiet,
conversation with, I would never tell you to be quiet, but what I am going to ask you about is the fact that we are 30 years in. Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's older than some of your brides.
Yes.
The shock. Someone fainted because of it.
So I know someone born. I know.
So when you look back, what's the biggest pinch me moment of your career so far?
You know, I know this sounds really tiny, but it was massive. But when I opened the doors, like that moment that I opened the doors and I was 30 and Italian parents, migrant parents, and I didn't tell them. And I know it sounds really silly, but it was something that I did on my own. But to see the doors open, and I think that Monday before I opened, I did a fashion parade. It was part of the bridal. I don't know if it still happens in London, but in Melbourne there used to be beautiful fashion parades that were bridal focused, and you had all the collaborators came together. And even back then it was quite an expensive thing. And I remember doing the parade and feeling very proud and very grateful. And then I got a sale the first day I opened. So you'd all know how important that is in business. So that was a real pinch me moment. But there are so many moments, like this is a pinch me moment for me. There are so many moments that make up the moment that you're in, if that makes sense. So I'll probably have other ones afterwards, but there's just like, this is really quite spectacular to see so many of you here listening to us chat and sharing the journey of Cappellazzo and how it's landed here at the Wedding Club.
And that's it. And that journey has brought you here. We've created, well, a little embassy of your Melbourne atelier here in Knightsbridge.
I know, it's so special.
So what's that mean in practice about you being here? So is it a secret handshake? Is it just really good sparkling wine?
You know what? I have to stop boasting about Claire, but I met Claire probably about 10 years ago, and this was at the New York Fashion Week, and I was asked to be part of one of those events, and I suppose I don't go into things with this massive plan and this is what the structure and this is the outcome. It's very organic and it's very authentic. And I was asked to be part of this show, and, you know, I didn't have all the, how can I say, you know, all the marketing, all the structures, all the plan, all the forecast. It was very much about showing the brand that I believe in. And Claire recognised our fabrications almost immediately. And I'll never forget when she walked past and just touched. And we were the first company that introduced this really beautiful neoprene, but it was cotton based with rubber, you know, finely hand cut. And it was very sculptural. And I guess that was what I got known for, and really catapulted us into this awareness with celebrities and also with brides, but that personalisation. And I guess I met Claire then probably about 10 years ago, and she beautifully invited me to come here, and I thought, oh my gosh, you know, what do I do? And then I did sort of come here, and I attempted, but I wasn't ready, and I was a bit overwhelmed with the opportunity. I know that sounds really silly. And I went back to Australia because fortunately we have clients from all over the world that actually, and I know that sounds very boastful, but it's quite what happens, because I think we've always been very true to our workmanship. Everything is made in Melbourne. None of it is fast fashion. Our fabrications are hand tooled. We work with, and I'm probably preempting some things, but just to give, you know, it is about delivering a special gown for a special moment. And I think that's one thing that I was so impacted by Claire, that her awareness of her products, of her labels, and we're all in business, so we all know at the end of the day we've got to convert and all of that, but there still has to be a journey in it, and I think that's the safety net that I find with the Wedding Club, and that's how we started. And then literally, because I have so many clients that come to Melbourne from London, and I will share that I literally just called Claire on WhatsApp. That's how ridiculous this was. And I thought, I would love to sort of have a space where it's represented, and Claire would be the person that I would want it to be within her team, with the Wedding Club. And, you know, I'm one of these people that have ridiculous number of unanswered or, you know, texts, because we're all hectic. And Claire picked up the phone and we chatted, and 3 months later, I'm here.
And you've done it. You've created
and we're
it.
here, and this
It's
is what they've
superb.
organised.
Exactly.
So
Woo!
thank you. Thank you.
And that's actually what you're describing. You have built something that's more than just a brand. It actually, there really is a legacy to it. And with all that knowledge that you've attained over the years, I'm really interested to know, what message do you most want brides to take away from your work?
You know, what I find that the experience of creating that moment with the bride is the journey together is really authentic and really special. And I think for me, I'm 6'2". I was 6'2" when I was 13. So, and my mother was a dressmaker. I'm Italian background, Venetian. Migrants that came to Australia after the Second World War. So we were frugal. We were always just creating clothes. It wasn't easy strip shopping, and access to what we have now wasn't around then. And so the understanding of the body shape and to fit was really something genuinely innate in my DNA. And very, very quickly, without trying, I could just look at women and suggest things that would elevate their own self-belief and their self-love. And I think the world has shifted so much with influencing and Instagram, and, you know, what do we all know? You know, comparison is a thief of joy. And so I think I live by that. And I think it's really important to be authentic to what you want. And I think a bride needs to feel loved and really love her body. And we all have stuff. We all have things we don't love about our body. That's just normal. That's till the day, you know, we always do. I always say, if only we realize how beautiful we are at the age that we are.
Yes.
Because it's after you think, oh my God, I look so good at 20, and you don't realize that. And then you hit the next decade. Oh my God, if I was only like that at 30. But anyway, and I guess the story for me is really realize that you have a style that you gravitate to. You have a vibe. You have something that you really genuinely feel the most beautiful in. I think a good designer, a good house, a good space understands that, gets to know you and taps into that. And that's what we really, really do in Melbourne. And that's why I'd love it represented here in London, because it is the slightest thing can elevate you to realise that you're even more beautiful than what you didn't think you were. Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense.
And I love that moment when the bride sees her reflection with the little thing that you've done, and you can just see this almost, I'm getting emotional, this self-love, you know, and I think it's important. Oh, see, I told you.
I love it.
See,
How
told you.
wonderful is that? No, I mean, that's what you've said about your designs. You've said that they are about loving the body you have and not changing it. And I want you to talk a little bit to the bride, that nervous bride who's walking through the door for the first time, who probably has been exposed to all the influence and the body shapes, and they haven't got that. They've got the bits they love and the bits they don't love. So can you talk a bit about how your process helps with that?
I'm very fortunate because here at the Wedding Club, there are actually a couple of our clients from Melbourne that are here. And if I think of their journey, which is really consistent with how we work, is I think everyone walks in with an idea of what they want to look like. There's a lot of investment in getting married, the whole, you know, where you're going to get married, how you look. And that's something, whether you've lived it or dreamed it or however, whether it's spontaneous. But, you know, it's exciting and daunting. So I guess what we do is we hold your hand. And that is really as simple as that. I know I'm talking a lot and we're answering a lot of questions, but we really explore your space. And what I think that we do really well is we just tap into who you are, and just by the way you walk in, just by the way you speak, just by your reactions with your eyes or the words that you choose, that is really a library of information. And it's like we've all have little computers in our head, they're not just here, and you pick up a library of ideas, and then you really start to manifest this vision. And it's really beautiful when someone comes in with a preconception of what they should be wearing and how they should look. And this is what I've told I look good in. And I take all that on board, but then I will throw it around and go, okay, that works, but have you thought of this? And sometimes there's a resistance, and understandably, because trust is such a big thing in any process. But once a bride sees an option that elevates her, you see it in their face. And that surprise is exciting, because then there's this trust. And I think, like anyone in the industry, once you gain the trust and it's genuine, it's not artificial, it's really, because you know what? When you're creating a gown, for us anyway, we want that. I always tell our brides, for me as a designer, the most magical moment of a bride's moment is when she walks into her venue, whether it's a church, whether it's whatever the venue is. I always think you don't hear words, you hear gasps, and they go, really? And I go, if someone says to me, oh my God, your bride looked lovely, I'm like, I failed, and in the sense that we all know when there's something magical, we're speechless. We actually don't have words to explain it. And I think my purpose in helping you have that moment is pushing you a little bit, creating something that's a little bit different, but not too different, but enough. And that's really, after 30 years, that still excites me.
Yeah. Oh, Sonia, there's such a sense of care in your process.
Yeah.
You talked about the trust, but also I know that you use photos, notes, reviews, back and forth. Do you ever feel like a fashion designer, therapist, and fairy godmother all rolled into one?
Oh, yeah.
I think that's what you are.
We are. If you're in retail, I think you are. You are, because I think, and I believe, I was having a chat to someone here today, just before, and I'm not sure who it was, and I'm sorry, but I actually think the luxury in retail going forward is the investment of your time with that client. I really think COVID gave us this expansion of accessibility to anything we wanted. I'm not an online person, but I just watched people. I watched that platform of just ordering and returning and not returning, and I think that indulgence happened, and then that opened up, and then all these shops and things. But what I am sensing, people want human contact, and I think with AI and robotics and all these things that we're all afraid of, but is our reality, I think that personal interaction is going to be one of the biggest luxuries that you can provide someone. And a space like this, a space with what we design, where, and no disrespect to fast fashion, I'm not, but our gowns are priced in a way that should be probably 10 times what we charge, but they're not, because we're not greedy with what we create. We're servicing beautiful artisans in the atelier that are creating beautiful things with beautiful fabrics and fabrications for that special moment. And that needs to translate into these spaces, because I really do believe, like Prada, I think, are opening up 420 stores. And again, please don't quote me, but Miucha, she's more than happy to give me a call. But no, I think in China, in the sense that personal interaction is really required now, and I think we've all bought a lot of things online that look amazing, and they don't replicate what the experience. And I'm not saying that's wrong, but I do think people want engagement and care and interaction.
Yeah. I think I think back to your being a fairy godmother, there's
Oh,
a
yeah,
bit of
the
magic in
sucker.
what you do as well, because your every gown is handmade in
Yeah,
Melbourne,
yeah,
which that's rare
yeah.
these days. But I'm interested in that magic that happens between the sketch and the final fitting,
Yeah.
and how that is all centered around the individual and that special care that you were talking about.
Absolutely. And there are two different categories. Like what we're showcasing here at Wedding Club is Cappellazzo Bride. So what we're trying to do is take that, the hand tooling, the workmanship of bespoke pieces, and translate them in with those techniques into a collection that's accessible globally. And I guess what we're trying to do is really give you that intimacy, give you that hands that touch this gown that you will wear really have cared, and it's been hand cut. And just flipping back to this, counselor, therapist, godmother, all of that. So many times I get called, the wedding whisperer, and I'm not saying that for anything, but it's about listening, it's about caring. And you do when you girls are getting married, there's a lot of stuff that's going on. There's a lot of self-doubt and pressure and expectations. And one of the things I always try, and what I genuinely care about people. So I do just generally try to drop little pearls of wisdom in my travels that hopefully just get them to recalibrate and go, don't worry about that. Focus on this. Because, whether it doesn't matter, religious or whatever it is, but wedding is one of those sacraments. It's one of those moments in life that I think is really important, is a moment that's remembered. And so try to pull the reins back when you can feel that desperation taking over, because then you're losing part of the day, all this money and time and effort. I think Maya Angelou always says that people don't remember what you say, people remember how you made them feel. And I think that's even when you attend a wedding. I think when, you can have the most extravagant, and I'm not disreputing people that have endless budgets, I think magical, but still the essence of that moment is how you feel, and the laughter and the joy and the conversations, and obviously the bride wearing a Cappellazzo gown. But that aside, yeah, I do think it's about, they're the things that we have got to savor now, that those the feelings of, and I do think your DNA shifts when you feel good and you feel beautiful and you feel wonderful.
And I think there's something in that. You talked about like almost an antidote to fast fashion.
Yeah.
And you talked a lot previously to me about slowing down,
Yes.
about craftsmanship, about intention, about memory, about creating that. So in a world obsessed with fast everything, what does slow mean in your atelier?
Look, slow means that everything is hand cut. Slow means that everything is considered. Slow means that we're not cutting 20 layers of the same dress. Slow means that we work with beautiful Indian houses that bead for Alexander McQueen and Chanel, and we do developments. Like, this is a little opportunity to showcase some of our work and how it can overlap. But there are so many opportunities that you can invest in by coming through Cappellazzo and the Wedding Club, where you can personalise some of these things. Because I really think we do have to slow down. I think we all do have to just breathe a little bit, and we all know all the things we should do. We should go to bed early, and we should do this and all those things, and that becomes another pressure. But we have choices, we do have choices. And I think if you surround yourself with vendors and spaces and designs that actually capture the essence of those moments, I really do think it permeates into the experience, because you walk into a space that you feel loved and you feel cared for, and you feel that you're not just taking a number and you're in a food hall and you're grabbing that and who can give me the best price. That's not what this is about. You're not picking just something, this is, and some people say, oh my gosh, they're so expensive and this and that, but they're memories that are kept. Like, I just went to the V&A and saw Marie Antoinette, and that was spectacular. But I was talking to someone, I said, she was an influencer back in the 1700s, like all those moments are reflected now in our current civilization. But, you know, and you look at some of the quotes that she's got there, and it is, you know, don't have regrets, slow it down, don't race past it so quickly that you have to look at photos to remember the day. You know, I always say the memories start from the minute you make that phone call and you come in and you start the journey, because that's your library, that's your pool of, you know, whether you come with your mother or your friends or your siblings or whoever, and then you go and get a coffee after that fitting or that consultation. You know, they're all part of those feel good vibes, you know, that are important. And we really try to, you know, I really hope people experience that love through the gowns. I hope that doesn't sound silly, but that's really what we want to do. Yeah.
It's absolutely beautiful. And do you know, I really wanted to ask you, what was the one piece of advice you give to every bride that she might like remember amidst the chaos? And I think in a way you spoke to it there, didn't you? It's not just the day.
Yeah.
It's the entire experience.
The entire experience. And really, and of course I'm going to be biased, but trust the process when you come into the wedding club. Trust the process when you hopefully choose Cappellazzo. And understand that, you know, really understand that, what am I trying to say? Enjoy it, you know, enjoy, like really think about how you want to be remembered for your wedding. Really think about that, like what matters. And, you know, of course, everyone goes, what did the bride wear? And that's important to me as a designer. Of course, I want everyone to wear Cappellazzo. But it's that, you know, we've got brides 10 years later that are still texting or still commenting on Instagram and going, oh my God, I could wear my gown now, Sonia. You know, and that is really special to have a space that we can try to showcase what we're about. In a month, so much, you know, because there's so much. There's, you know, therapy, there's retail overload, you know.
There really is, isn't there? It feels that way. I think a lot of people, then looking around the room, I'm seeing people nod. It can feel that way. Now, I want to bring you back to something you mentioned previously that you said so just dropped into conversation. I work with the same materials as some of the haute couture houses in Paris. Now, how does the access to those materials, how does that influence the individuality and personality of each of your gowns?
You know, it's really interesting. I've been very, very fortunate because we're quite a very small, intimate, but well-respected company in Australia and with the clients globally. Like, we've created gowns for some very, you know, like everyone is special, but, you know, some pivotal moments as well. But the thing that we're very so surprised and also very honoured is that we've had these exclusive couture houses of beading from India, and I think they're the best beaders in the world. And I say that because they make saris and their intimacy, even, you know, just their understanding. But the houses that I work with are run by Italians or French, and what that means is that that aesthetic has a different application, I guess, and me with my background as well. But what it is that I've seen colour palettes for 27, 28. So in anticipation of what's trending, we're not trying to be trending, we're trying to showcase where things are going, but in a way that's sort of timeless, but still ahead of the curve. We don't want to be mass. When it's mass, then it just becomes too familiar and we've seen that look in so many ways. So what we do is, by working with these houses, what we're able to do is inject that knowledge and that information and apply it to a design silhouette that we feel is going to develop and formulate. You know, like it's like the Vivienne Westwood, you know, era, like when Sex and the City happened, you know, the Vivienne Westwood was so prominent with when Carrie got married. And of course then, you know, when they redid the you know, and Just Like That. And so there's a big resurgence. And then, you know, sadly Vivienne passed away 2 years ago, and there was again a lot of Vivienne Westwood. But that look has had, you know, it's been magical. But I think things evolve, you know, they have their moment, but then things evolve. But I think what's really beautiful is to capture something that is current, that's forward thinking, but also has this longevity. And, and funnily enough, if you look at the 50s and the 60s, or the 40s and the 50s, I suppose, that's when your, Christabel Balenciaga, all these designers, which is what we do, how we make, they were brought in by MGM. They were brought in by these film studios to fit and create and perfect their art. And weirdly, we do that. We have mannequins that are tooled to the shape of the bride if they go down that full bespoke opportunity. But then also with our collection, we've molded it in a way that reflects those same formulations. And I think that's really that's how we try to capture with what's going on ahead and apply it to a collection.
It's amazing.
If that makes sense.
It makes complete sense. And let me tell you, I'm trying to think of every excuse I've got to be at your fashion show in February 2026.
I know that's
which is going to be your 30th anniversary.
I know, that's
so what are we
special.
expecting? Tears, champagne, or both?
Oh, you know what? I actually just stepped in to Philip Tracy's studio just before because we do we're very lucky. We get to do a lot of celebrities as well, and it's not lucky, but I'm just saying, in that platform where they're on show all the time, and so there's as all of the concerns and self-doubts that every one of us has. People in media are exactly the same, if not even in a more elevated way. And so we're very fortunate that the networks really reach out to me a lot. And really, I've got a lot of relationships, a lot of profile celebrities because, again, like the godmother, like I can tap into what they feel comfortable wearing and elevate and disguise and all of that. So I guess for me, the 30-year celebration is so important because it reflects all of the knowledge that I have from my humble beginnings of my migrant family, that came out with nothing, and how the business has grown in a very organic way. None of it has been, artificially, grown. But the celebration is going to be a bit of everything. And what I was saying about Philip Tracy, so the reason I popped into his store today is because, we were commissioned by the networks to create some gowns for Francesca Comani, which is, our races of the Melbourne Cup, which is similar to your ascot, I guess. And so he created some millinery and so what would my wish be for next year? To be celebrating our crafts, our workmanship, the fun, the forwardness of what I can see is going to happen with our label. So there'll be also a respect, a nod to the past, but also a welcome at the beginning. And there was one thing I wanted to say, and I think I've gone off track, but I just want to mention one thing that was really important about fast fashion and about what we make. I think and about being disingenuous and being genuine. One thing that I think is really important for brides is ask questions. Ask questions about what you are trying on. Ask about its origin. Ask about its fabrication. I think it is so important to understand the authenticity of Cappellazzo, and I'm completely transparent. You can ask me anything about what I do. I've got nothing to hide, but I think that's really important when you purchase something, because unfortunately now with the magic of media, you can see someone in a workroom and they're talking about the craft, the art, and it's creating this illusion that it's artisanship and it's craftsmanship. Words are being used in a way to manipulate you to think that, oh my God, this is hand tooled. But no, it isn't. It's massed out. And I think that's something that's really important that you ask as a bride or as anybody, that, okay, those words are used and it's convincing me to purchase it. But if I'm paying $200 for that skirt, then I know it's not. It's not. And I think they're the things that you have to really ask about. So one thing we want to show with the parade next year is it doesn't have to be thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. You can still get beautiful things that are handmade. It just depends what they are, So we will showcase, some of this suiting that you've seen, that, the generous pant and the jacket, that's in silk. But there's different ways that you can make that in a different price point. So we really want to celebrate fashion, and hopefully, people really walk away with this energy of something.
I think they will. Yeah. And I am going to invite questions from the audience, but before I do, I have one more question, which will give people some time to think of some wonderful questions for you, which is, If love is the ultimate couture, what's your definition of the perfect wedding day?
Oh gosh, I have to really dissect that. If love is
The ultimate couture,
right,
what's your definition of the perfect wedding day?
geez, I'm trying to understand that question. So wait a minute. I am. It's so good. It's so deep that I've lost it.
Start with what the bride is wearing.
Yeah, exactly. It's Cappellazzo.
There we go.
No, do you know, it is. Obviously, of course. I'm so proud when I see our bride wearing our gown. That is really, to me, and the joy and the fun and the comments and the phone calls the next day when they should be going on their honeymoon to say thank you. Like, that still gives me a buzz. Like, that is the ultimate, that I know as a designer I've been successful, that they felt so beautiful and so loved, and that they want to do it again. That excites. And
that sounds like a perfect wedding day to me.
But, you know, but yes, so yeah, I hope
you
I've
found it.
everything.
You found the answer.
I found it. So thank you for that profound question.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Abby.
I'd love to invite some questions from the audience if anyone has anything for Sonia. Yes, please.
Obviously, you've got some amazing different textures on your dresses.
Thank you.
Really make them stand out.
Thank you.
Favourite fabrics that you are working with, or any that you don't like?
Do you know what? I'm a fabric snob. Okay, so I love beautiful fabrics. I love natural fibers. So for me, you know, I can make polyester look good if I have to, right? But I do prefer, because of the way that we shape our gowns and we steam them into shape, even with the bridal collection, like the way they're molded, when you have beautiful fabrication, you can actually tool it and mold it. And so for me, that's my starting point. Like, honestly, my starting point. And that's one thing that I say to all our brides: you can have the most expensive fabric in the world. If it's not fitted well, it's irrelevant. And so for us, what's really important is, obviously, we want a beautiful fabric. And I like textures. I like layering. I like, you know, the depth and the weight of something really structural. But then I also like the lightness of the layering and the tonal, you know. And so it's really, I think for me, fabrication is the most important thing. And also just really discovering where things are going, you know, and really, because fabric, you know, fashion has a cycle. It used to be 20 years. I think it's less now. And, you know, fibers is where it all starts. You know, that colour palettes, it starts with fibers. You know, industry, if you look the whole cross-section of industry, you almost know where fashion is going to go. You know, so for me, I love observing. I love observing things that may be so sort of overlooked, and yet that really will be my stimulation for where the collection goes. You know, really, that excites me when something so banal and insignificant becomes the essence of what you create.
Skill of a designer.
Yeah, but I love that. I think creativity is a gift, and I think we all have it. And I think we need to really, you know, value creativity in every form, you know, whether it's gardening, whether it's, obviously for me, it's fashion and creating and, you know, trying to reflect what I love onto a bride. Did that answer the question?
Yes. It's a great question. Thank you so much. Any other questions? Yes, please.
What do you think the differences are between Australian brides and British brides?
Oh, that's a good question. You know what? I'm going to be really biased here.
You are in London.
I know. No, I think because Australia is so small, I mean, it's a big country, you know, geography-wise, but our population is so small. And I think because of that, you're fighting for more access to more brides, I guess. Not fighting, but you've got to prove yourself more, because you don't have access to, you know, brides have, how can I say? We have to stand out. And so we have to push ourselves to be a little bit different. And I think because we are a small country, I find that I have to challenge myself to not look like what's already accessible. And I think when you're in Britain, in the world, there are so many places you can go to buy things, but what makes us, I think, what excites me is that, and I say this, and I hope I'm not sounding boastful, I love walking into a space of bridal wear and going, they're all beautiful, but ours looks different. You know, that's what I love. And I love when brides also show me pictures of what they're wanting, and British brides and, you know, English brides. And I think the more you have access to Cappellazzo, the more you see that you can have something different, I think the more that will shift, that you don't have to look like that. And I think, I don't know if that answers the question. I think British brides are fantastic. I think everyone is. But I do think that challenge yourself to find something that's not already there. And I think the Wedding Club has a great eye in doing that. I really do. And I know I keep bragging about you, Claire, but you do. And that's why you're all here, you know. Yeah, but you do, you know. And I think brides are wanting that. I really do. I think brides really want that. Does that answer that? I think, I mean, you're all connected here for some reason, you know, obviously through Claire, through the Wedding Club, through vendors. But, you know, and maybe compare that to the other experiences. What makes this space the reason that you come to this space and you want to be part of this space? You know, what is it? And that's what we want. You know, we want to show you that, yep, you're getting married, and how many millions of you get married every year, but, you know, make yours beautiful, you know, and make it special. So that's what we want to access our brides in Britain, and that's why this opportunity is here, to sort of give you that chance and really allow Claire and her team to discuss things with us directly, you know. And I think that's a really special opportunity to sort of deliver something unexpected, and have it quite capsule and quite exclusive here. Yeah,
I think we're so lucky to have this little bit of Melbourne here. If you could just send a tiny spot of the weather. Just asking for a friend.
Oh my gosh, it's actually freezing in Melbourne. Like, I left Melbourne, it was 11 degrees the other day. So I've come into...
No, I want the sunshine bit.
Yeah,
please.
but it's... No, look, you know, Australia's beautiful. You like it is. The nature and air and the space, it's magical. But yeah, but you know what? I come to London and I'm falling in love with it more and more and more. Like, I know every country has its problems, we all know, but it's a beautiful space. It really is a beautiful country. You know, I'm really loving London, and thank you for allowing me to be here, everyone.
We're loving having you here. And before I say a proper thank you and finish up, I just want to make sure I've given an opportunity if anyone else wants to ask a question. Yes, please. Oh, so apologies. Yes, we have time for multiple questions.
Yes.
My question is, every year a designer has to come up with a collection of dresses. Where is your main inspiration from? And is it like a feeling, or is it like a visual?
Do you know, thank you, Mel, that's a good, for me, again, fabric is one of my starters, but it is very much an evolution of shape, you know. And I guess the one thing that I still love doing to this day, I still sell. Like, I'm still on the floor. Like, I call myself a fashion tradie, you know, in the sense that I love touch points. I love to understand what people want. And by your questions in that journey, I can almost anticipate where fashion is going. And I've been doing this for so long, but I can see where things become exhausted, you know. And we all know that, you know, the catwalks get translated into fast fashion within 3 weeks, you know, with Zara and so forth. But even now, and I think we had this conversation, creative directors have moved around a lot in the last 3 months. And I adore every one of them. I really do. I have followed all of them. But what I have found, when you ask about what are trending, how do you anticipate things, it's not hard, but you've got to come up with an idea that stands different to what it was before. It's like Alessandro Michele. You know, he was a bag designer with Gucci, and then he got promoted to designer, and he was spectacular. He turned Gucci around, but now he's moved to Valentino. His DNA has moved to Valentino. I don't know if that's Valentino anymore. And I think that's what you have to step into yourself to create something for the next collection. And what I really try to do is sit still and go, what am I hearing that brides don't want? Or what am I hearing that they're tired of having? And that starts to design, the silhouette starts to evolve. And then it's almost supported then by the fabric houses, or either I then go and hunt for fabrications from obscure houses. And I know even when I used to come to Premium Vision all the time, I don't do that anymore, not because of anything, but I have such great relationships with houses that we sort of develop beforehand, or they're developing things and they test things and they'll go, Sonia, what do you think of this? And I'll go, let's do with rayon, or let's mix a silk with a cotton and let's do these things. But and even like a knit that I designed 15 years ago, Alexander McQueen still runs it exclusively. And I guess for me, when I design a new collection, it really starts with what the bride is needing, what she's feeling, and the energy of the time we're in, and whether they're wanting, like, there's no doubt there's a return back to celebrating getting married. There was a time when it was a bit more shift and easy and quick and, and what's interesting, the sister of the bride that had that, let's just have a slip dress, very Carolyn Bessette, then told her sister, oh my God, be a bride, because I didn't feel like a bride on my day. So that's the journey that I see. Like, I listen to what people are looking for, but I really think there's a return to tradition. And that doesn't mean, Marie Antoinette, but I think there's a return to the essence of what marriage means. And, that day is spectacular, but it's also the platform for what comes after that day, and before you get married, you're selfish, in a nice way. It's all about you. It's even before you have children, it's all about you. But I think it prepares you for taking your time and listen, and that's how I design. I've gone right off kilter, haven't I?
I think that was a beautiful answer, don't you? Yes. I think we have time for one more.
Mine wasn't a very deep question.
Oh no!
Good,
No,
we can end on something
I go
later.
deep. I go so deep. Sorry.
It was like, do you think big dresses are coming back because people are not wanting to buy online? The way for a bridal to fight back as an industry is to produce things that can't be.
Delivered and just bought online. For us, we do the whole cross section. We do fitted dresses and big gowns. But we have always created big gowns and luxurious and layered and fullness, because I think brides want to feel like brides, but also we've got those transition looks. Like, for example, if some of you were here earlier, you saw that Gio had the pant with the jacket with the same pieces that she's got on now. I think that's also happening, where you can have that. I always say to a bride, don't become a guest at your wedding, because I think that's sad. I really do. I think, be a bride and have fun. And yes, I know there's a lot of, then you have a little party dress, and that's fantastic too, because it's got a different energy. But you don't have to always change. You can hook up your dress. You can, you've got different dimensions. I think it also depends where you're getting married. Those things come into play enormously. So just sit down, work out your budgets. 80% goes to the wedding gown. The rest is whatever's left. Sorry, I know there are event people in here. No, I meant it. Equal share. Shoes, boots, all of that. But no, just, I think big dresses are coming back. I really do. Because I think also now liquid dresses are just day wear. I think that's become so day wear and throw on a jacket. So I think there's that point of difference where it looks like a moment. And I think, I think a bride loves walking out feeling like a bride. That's me. I think it's, it really is exciting when I see that magic, in their faces.
We have been so lucky to have the time with you. Your advice on love, life, the universe. I think you are all of our fairy godmothers. So thank you. May I have a large round of applause, please, for Sonia. I'd also like to extend our thanks to the Wedding Club for hosting us.
Thank you. Thank you,
Claire and all the girls
I
here.
know. And these beautiful models.
And these models who have been standing here, I imagine, in some pretty phenomenal high heels under there, barely moving.
They're beautiful. Thank you.
Let us all learn that skill.
And thank you, Abby. You've been a delight.
It's been my pleasure. It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much. Really, it's been my pleasure. Thank you.